Hello, my name is Kern, and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Arena deck guide. I have an update for a video I just posted recently, a list I just posted the other day. This is version 2 that has been performing much better. So in my haste to post that list, to post that deck guide, I realized that there was like a lot of things that were wrong with it. I also got a lot of great feedback on Reddit. I got a lot of great feedback on aetherhub, and I've never posted Decklist to aetherhub until like relatively recently, so it's great to get people's feedback, to have people's eyes on it and like see the exports, and I just hope people are playing this and having fun with it. So anyway, I thought I would update it because there's a lot of things in the old list that are actually pretty bad. I was on a winning streak before, but then I started losing with it and noticing that some cards were just dead or not performing quite as well as we wanted to. So yeah, I'm just going to walk you through this new list here. We have 4 Spectral Sailor, 2 Opt, and 2 Shock, so we like to play cheap spells, especially spells on our opponent's turn, because this deck is largely centered around Mischievous Chimera, which seems like a funny card for it to be centered around. I talk about this a bit in my first video, but basically it seems like it's trying to do too many things at once, much like an actual Chimera, wherein it's kind of has this flying thing, kind of has this aggro thing, kind of has this flash thing, and then it has this funny scry effect. But in a deck where you're trying to take advantage of all of those themes, it's actually quite powerful. And in a way, that scry trigger makes us not miss Curious Obsession quite so much. So it's actually really does pull its weight in the deck. We have 4 Brineborn Cutthroat, which is great for tempo, obviously. It's a cheap spell that gets bigger if they can't deal with it. 4 Lightning Stormkin. This is the card that I'm still least decided on. Like, I think of all the top decks, like, it's not a bad top deck, but it's a card that I think could be replaced by something else here. But right now, there is a flying sub-theme, and also the deck is pretty aggressive, so this card is nice. We have 3 Quench, 2 Thassa's Intervention, as well as 4 Ionize. So we have a bunch of counter spells in order to help control the tempo of the game. Thassa's Intervention is interesting inclusion. We dropped Chemist's Insight, and we went to different types of card draw. Thassa's Intervention was 2 of the cards we replaced. So we could either counter a spell, or we could, draw and look at a bunch of cards if we need to. So this could be quite useful even in the late game. Yeah, it's a little bit tough to hold up mana for an early game, which is why I only have 2, since that is quite key in a tempo deck, is to be able to have your counter spells hit that early stuff. Yeah, and then the other card draw source we're now playing is Winged Words, which is a little bit of a bummer that it's not an instant speed spell, but for a 2-mana draw 2, it's really hard not to include at least a couple in this deck when we have so many flying creatures. So we're experimenting with this for now. Something else might end up going in the slot just as easily. And also, depending on how you build your sideboard, you may not want Winged Words in your main board, because if you were planning on subbing out creatures in your sideboard, then you might want to drop some flying creatures for other kinds of aggro. We have, 4 Brazen Borrower now. Let me actually have the list. Jesus. Brazen Borrower is up to 4, and I think we actually have 3 Bonecrusher Giants. I'll just make that change there. There we go. I had a lot of folks asking, why not 4 Brazen Borrower? Well, the reason was I didn't have a mythic rare. So I just got one so I could update this deck guide. Yeah, Brazen Borrower, huge control. I mean, this is just plays around all of our themes. It's basically a creature with haste because it has flash, so it can get an attack in, shortly after it comes down. Plays into our flying sub-theme, does a lot of damage at the face, and then can help us control our games as well. And, I mean, both of these sides of the spell can be played on our opponent's turn, which is pretty nice. Bonecrusher Giant, of course, could go face, could be control, or could be a creature threat. Like, this is just an amazing card all around. I love this card. Other changes that we made are to the land-based. We did add 2 Temple of Epiphany. I was hesitant to add the Scry lands before because this deck does really need untapped early game, but adding 2, I don't think has hurt us very much, and it has helped us color fix quite a bit. So I do think this is the correct choice. And we also added a couple of Castle Vantress. I don't know why I didn't have this in here before, but obviously this is a very good card for a deck like this. In the sideboard, which we have updated with something that's actually competitive. Okay, so I just want to say real quick about the sideboard. There's a lot of ways that you could sideboard this deck. One way is you could continue with the tempo archetype and just have silver bullets for whatever matchup you're up against. And that's this example of a sideboard. So let's go through it, and then I'll talk about other options for sideboards as well. So we have 3 Aether Gust. This obviously is good against red and green. It's a huge silver bullet right now. In the meta, we have 2 Cerulean Drake. It's got protection from red, and then also if they're playing counter spells, or not counter spells, if they're playing stuff that hits your face or like is discard, like Thought Erase, then you can counter that, which is very nice. 3 Lava Coil to exile and hit larger things. 2 Mu Yanling. Let me come back to that. 3 Mystical Dispute in case we're in a counter matchup. 2 Flame Sweep for go-wide strategies. Now, Flame Sweep might not be totally necessary. There's some other cards you could play here. One thought that I think might be just as good against go-wide strategies, like Cavalcade even, is the Shadowspear. So if you played a couple Shadowspear instead, maybe even 3, and dropped some other card, I don't know what that would be, the lifelink might even be better here than having Flame Sweep, which Flame Sweep could hit, you know, your own Chimera, your own Lightning Stormkin, Spectral Sailor, it could hit Brazen Borrower, it could hit a weaken of Brineborn Cutthroat, so it could be awkward to play, and Shadowspear could be a very viable alternative. Just give yourself lifelink and survive in a different way against go wide. But this will all depend on how the meta shakes out, right? So just wanted to throw that out there as a possibility. We have 2 Mu Yanlings. This is kind of a funny card. I don't think you see this in sideboards often, and I think the reason is because people aren't playing Tempo. So this, I believe, is a really great Tempo card. The plus is a bit of control, and when you're playing in a flying deck, obviously that's a kind of control that could be really useful to allow you to hit their face. But also that -3 just means that as long as she stays on the board, she's pumping out creatures, and so if your opponent can't deal with her, which you're Tempo, so hopefully you have a way to make it so they can't, then you're building threat after threat after threat. So I think that she could be a really interesting sideboard in some matchups. Before we get into a best of 3 game, I want to talk about a couple of other possibilities. One is Wavebreak Hippocamp. A lot of people are brewing with this, and I thought I was super clever and whatever, like I stumbled upon this. I'm not normally a spike player. I'm much more like Jank. And I built this deck because I drafted Mischievous Chimera, and I was like, this is a really good draft card, but is this even playable in Standard? And so I designed a deck that could play around it and decided to make a Tempo shell. And that's how this deck came to be. So it came from a jank place and ended up being a very spike deck. But anyway, not a surprise that other people are playing around with this archetype. Some people are doing mid-range. Some people are doing enchantment versions. And this is an interesting card people have been playing with. Wavebreak Hippocamp, 3 mana, 2/2. Whenever you cast your first spell during an opponent's turn, draw a card. So this is another way to get huge card advantage. I haven't been quite bold enough to play with it yet. Because you have to be able to protect it. So it seems like a turn 5 or turn 6 play, which is something that makes me nervous. Maybe if you played a few copies, but it could be really key. I know this. It could be really key in certain matchups like Esper Control, where being able to draw a lot of cards could be really huge. So that's a thought that folks might play around with. And the other thing I wanted to mention here is various sideboard strategies. So this sideboard is really straightforward, right? We're just going to help our deck do what it's already doing even better, which is what most sideboards are. But in this particular list that I've come up with, it's pretty viable to change deck archetypes, like almost entirely via the sideboard. So two ways that you might go with this in the sideboard is you could either sub out some cards to suddenly become a mid-range deck, or you could sub out some cards to suddenly become a straight-up aggro deck. So let's take a look at some of the cards that that might allow us to do that. Aggro-wise, you could go Annex, Hardened in the Forge. So whenever this is already a lot of creatures in the deck. It's a bunch of creatures for a tempo-based deck, if I'm being honest. But that's largely because some of these creatures can be control and creatures. Anyway, so this gives you payoff in case they die. Of course, it's a big threat itself, and then allows you to go wide. Shock could be good. Like, you know, I only have 2 shock, but you could very easily put 2 more shock into the sideboard. You could go Robber of the Rich. That's another possibility if you wanted to go aggro, just a hasty creature that allows you to play your opponent's cards. And I'm sure there are other thoughts that you can come up with. If you wanted to go more mid-range, sub out some cards to allow you to play mid-range. You'd also probably take out a land if you were going to go aggro from the sideboard. If you wanted to go mid-range, obviously you would play Embercleave. Oh, Ember's not going to do it, is it? You'd play Embercleave for sure. It does have flash, but it's not on your opponent's turn, so whatever. But, well, you could, but it'd cost 6 mana. Anyway, so it doesn't play into the flash theme, but obviously it's a pretty good mid-range card. I say as the understatement of the year. You could also play Gadwick in mid-range, or you could do like Niv-Mizzet Parun. Oh, I didn't spell that right. Niv Miz, please. There we go. Or you could do Niv Miz Parun. I mean, we are in Izzet, so this is obviously a really good top end. So yeah, just throwing in some top end cards to make it mid-range is also a viable possibility. Because of the strength of Tempo in the previous meta, though, I am really interested in exploring this kind of Tempo sideboard as well. And in fact, actually, I'm thinking about it right now. I keep updating my list, but you know what? I think we're going to put 2 Shadowspear in the, at least 2, maybe 3. Because really, you want if this is an aggro sideboard, you want 3 copies. So I could drop a Mu Yanling or a Cerulean Drake. Those are the 2 where it's like, do I really need that many? Or a Lava Coil. Let's drop a Lava Coil. All right, we're going to hop in and play some best of 3 and see how this goes. FD territory. We're going to play first, of course. This is pretty good. We've got 0 control other than Bonecrusher Giant. But Winged Words will allow us to try to find it. I don't know if we start with Mischievous Chimera turn 2 or we're going to flash in Brineborn. I don't know yet, but probably flash in, depending on the colors, because then we can hold up our 1 control card. Or we play Mischievous Chimera now so we can Ionize. Green makes me think, you know, mid-range or stompy, so it might be nice to get Mischievous Chimera in while we can. Bonecrusher Giant could hit like a Gilded Goose or something, but I don't think that that's really the best use of it. Okay. Oh, enchantments. Okay, well, good. I can hit that if they try to enchant it, but we're obviously just going to hold up Ionize and Bonecrusher and see what they do. I have to remember that this is best of 3. I rarely play best of 3 on Arena. Okay, we're going to Ionize that, of course. Yeah, that's really good for this kind of matchup. So what we are most concerned about right now is a Paradise Druid, actually. So Shadowspear is a very likely sideboard card. See, I could Winged Words and still have Brazen Borrower, Bonecrusher, and Brineborn Cutthroat. So I think that's what we're going to do. Let's get in for 2, though. I guess I should have drawn first. Yeah, oops. I didn't need to shock in. Oops. Because I was going to draw no matter what. I think we wait till they enchant it and then we'll bounce it. We could even wait a few turns. I could also remove Starfield Mystic while it's still within range of Bonecrusher Giant. Because now, I don't know what they're going to enchant. They're probably going to enchant Cetessan Champion. I could also Brazen Borrower, but I think I don't need to put that down quite yet. So let's just keep doing... Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Alright, we're probably not going to have space to play Spectral Sailor and draw a card off of it unless they happen to not play a good enchantment on Cetessan Champion. I could also do Bonecrusher Giant. Because I still have Brazen Borrower and Brineborn Cutthroat. If I think I'm not going to be able... The question is, do I think I'm practically going to be able to play Spectral Sailor and draw a card? If not, then I should Bonecrusher now. Yeah, so this has been pretty heavy tempo. I also don't want to reveal too many cards. They don't know we have Brazen... They can probably guess, but... You know. Okay. They also don't want to reveal. So, definitely Shadowspear. I don't know if we need 3, but I do really feel a Paradise Druid. And they can see how much control we have in removal, so I think we drop the shock. Mu Yanling... I'd have to protect her. Mystical Dispute, no. I don't think they're going to target me. This could be good if they are playing Nissa. Do I think they'd play Nissa in a deck like this? I'm going to put it in and think about it. What do I drop, though, is the question. I mean, Opt is such a good cantrip, though. What are we at here? 2.1 still. Mu Yanling could be good. I don't think we need Mu Yanling. Let's stop considering her. Drop some Lightning Stormkin. And let's go down a Spectral Sailor. And a Brineborn Cutthroat? Yeah. Okay, I think that's correct. We'll run like this and see how it goes game 2. I got a Brineborn Cutthroat and I still drew them. I should have dropped 2. Brineborn Cutthroat is obviously a little bit awkward. We still have Bonecrusher Giant. It's a little bit awkward because they are so heavily ground-based, and they're going to be able to build up their threats like Setessan Champion quicker than we can build Brineborn. But at least this gives us a turn 2 play if they don't play anything worth removing. If they play Setessan Champion, I don't think I'm going to Brazen Borrower right away. Okay, Birth of Meletis. Well, it's going to take us a while to get over that wall, but that's right. I could also bounce the wall if we really wanted to get the damage in. Oh, I so want to play that right now. It helps Winged Words be at 2. Yeah, I think we can afford to play Mischievous Chimera right now. We didn't see any flying from them last turn either, so that could be really good to have a flying creature down right now. Did they sub in any control is a question I have. There's Starfield Mystic. Can they enchant it right away? Shit. Wait. Whenever enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield. Aha. Okay, never mind. I thought that card worked a different way. Yeah, I think we hold up Ionize, and we'll Bonecrusher Starfield Mystic if they don't play anything worth counterspelling. Another option is I could put down Brazen Borrower as a creature, but I think we need its bounce. I think we just need to control this game. Ah, yeah, right. I have to do it now. They might have Flash or... Okay, they don't have God's Willing. There was no stick there. Dang it, yeah, I gave them space to play it. But we do have Brazen Borrower and Ionize, so we can deal with them eventually. If we can draw some goddamn lands, Jesus. Okay. Next turn, I could play Bonecrusher Giant, but, you know, this is almost certainly going to get above that, so it wouldn't do anything, really. In terms of blocking out damage. I don't think we really care about blocking out that damage. I think what we really want to do is Brineborn Cutthroat and Spectral Sailor next turn, and hold a Ionize just in case. If they played a Paradise Druid, we would want to hit that. Otherwise, I think our plan is to bounce the Setessan Champion after they enchanted a bunch, and then Ionize it when they try to replay it. Oh, dude, I don't think I can allow that. Makes me nervous, but they are down to only 2. Okay, that's fine. We do need to find an answer for Setessan Champion, but that's okay. Damn, dude, this is not what I want to see. I think we're going to just play another Brineborn Spectral Sailor. I would like a land. A land would be nice at this point. I did up the land count in the list from my previous list, so now we're running 22 lands. Because I realized that although we do like to be aggressive and draw our fuel and not our fire, it is also true that we use our extra mana when we have it. I could also bounce a Setessan Champion. Nah, because Quench, it won't work. I need a better counterspell than Quench. Alright, so now we're taking some damage. They are down to 2 cards, which gives me a little bit of hope. Oh, I could also bounce Banishing Light. Cavalier Dawn, eh? Well, luckily I don't have any permanents, so they could do that to their wall to create a 3/3 Golem. Do I Quench this? Yeah, I think I have to. That Quench is not going to be useful otherwise, and I don't think it's really key to our strategy that we get Brineborn Cutthroat down. So yeah, I'm actually going to play the Spectral Sailor out right now too, for that same reason. Okay, another bounce, another Brazen Borrower was actually not bad at all. If I draw a land, then I can do both. What? What? What the hell? Oh my god, dude. Do we even play lands in this deck? Come on. Alright. That is real bad. I could use the opt now just to play out the 4th land so I can have 5 lands possibly next turn. Yeah. Wow. Just in case they're able to get Setessan Champion to lethal. Now they exile my Shadowspear. Or they could just draw for an enchantment and try to close this game out, which is probably smarter, actually. They didn't find one. Wow. If I take 6, I'm down to 7. I can still chump out with Spectral Sailor later, although they could have Trample later, so it might be nice to do this now. Okay, the value of shocking in here. The value of shocking in is we could do either Brazen Borrower and Petty Theft in the same turn and get a little bit of, you know, hurt started here. And or we could do Bonecrusher now. Then they can't attack in with Dryad safely. Brazen Borrower with Setessan Champion. Which is probably better since we're so concerned about a life total. Attach Shadowspear to Bonecrusher Giant the following turn, or to Brazen Borrower, actually. It's almost the same amount of life gain, but is it worth shocking in? I think it is. Yeah, let's put down Bonecrusher Giant. They know we have it. So it's maybe not as valuable as Brineborn Cutthroat in some ways. I don't know. Maybe that's not the right way to think about it, but they could always exile Bonecrusher Giant. But if they do that, honestly, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's a mistake. Because now I can bounce Vanishing Light to get back 2 creatures. In fact, I could do that to kill Setessan Champion instead of bouncing it. But it'll all depend on if they have a card like God's Willing. If they have a card like God's Willing, we could... No, they only want 1 card in hand. I was going to say we could be dead, but no, we wouldn't be dead. I think we go for that. They could have a pump here too. All right. That was huge. That was very big for us. Let's see what else they got. I mean, they have Banishing Light back. They could take the Shadowspear, but I think they're going to hold on to it. All right, we can bounce that if we want. Okay, they are going for the Shadowspear. We can get that back if we have to. It would be nice, of course, to get some counter magic so they can't just keep replaying those. Okay, so Brazen Borrower, the Wolf. We're going to still take 2. Or we could Brineborn Cutthroat, Brazen Borrower. Brazen Borrower? 1, 2, 3. Let's see. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Oh, we don't have enough lands to do all that. I was going to say block out Dryad of the Elysian Grove and kill it, but I don't think that's necessary. I think it's at this point it is better to start building up our Brineborn Cutthroat. They've used a lot of removal. They still have Calyx down, but our Brazen Borrower can go over the top, which I think, yeah, that's a reason to play it out. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, unfortunately I can't get my Brineborn Cutthroat down if I want to bounce their Wolf token. But I think removing Calyx before he can do more removal is good. Okay. They can get another token if they want. Trying to think, is there really... Yeah. I wonder if it's just a land they have in hand. It could be like another removal spell, but I'm just curious why they haven't played it yet. This might be a reason to play out Brineborn Cutthroat and then flash in Brazen Borrower, but no, then they just remove it. Calyx dies, though, and I have a second one. But then I take a lot of damage. Yeah, I can always do that next turn. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. If I draw a land, I can even kill the wolf safely. I think we got to get rid of Calyx. Yeah, I think we play this. It might end up chumping, but... Yeah. It's a lot of value. I mean, we're going to play the Cutthroats anyway, so it's just so much value. And even if it chumps, we're going to get a ping and a scry off of it before it goes away. All right, that's fine. So maybe that was what they had in hand, is that Sky Tether. They might just be thinking about attacks here, but they could also have like a creature or something. Like they could be afraid of my mana. These cards I have had in hand since the beginning of the game. They don't know that, but I've always had cards in my hand is what I'm trying to say. So it could very easily be a counterspell. Although, yeah, no, I think they played this one as tapped out. I'm just trying to think if what they have is a powerful card they don't want to be countered. Because that's important information. If they do, then that would be a reason not to play Brineborn Cutthroat until their end step. But then I either risk them killing me or, you know, so I don't get the scry and the ping off of Mischievous Chimera, which isn't the end of the world. But I wonder if that's playing way too cautious here, because it could just as easily be a land, right? Well, I only have to play one. So I'll still have 2 mana. Yeah, I'm going to keep that. Okay. Could bounce Banishing Light to get Shadowspear back eventually. I don't know that we want to do that just yet. I think right now we just pass the turn. No, we attack. What am I saying? Well, we can always bounce Dryad. I think we want to save the bounce though. Can we kill Dryad? Yeah, we can kill Dryad if we save one of our Brineborn. So yeah, we don't attack this turn. So that it also prevents them from attacking. And pretty soon our Brineborn Cutthroats will just get completely out of control. This is going to be a very close one. Could bounce Banishing Light, but I'm not going to really have any spells to play, and that just allows them to take my Brineborn Cutthroats again. I could bounce a wall, or I could just play out 2 Brazen Borrower and get in some damage, start to get in some damage. I think we want to bounce the wall, though. We want to use all of our flash spells so we get all the counters. So if we attack with Brineborn, if we attack with everything, they could double block. Probably kill this one. So the cautious thing to do is just to hit them for 3 and wait another turn. And yeah, I think that we can afford to do that at this point. I think my next play is going to be Spectral Sailor and draw card instead of Brazen Borrower. They hit a Brineborn Cutthroat. Almost certainly. And yeah, that's like a lot of their removal, so I think that we might be okay from here. We'll see. Obviously, they could still just have some, you know, big pump or something that just finishes the game. We're only at 3. So that could still happen. Kind of want that Shadowspear back, but I don't have a way to kill that Banishing Light. Like, if I drew into a counterspell... Alright, yeah, let's draw a card. We need to draw at this point. Alright, now we're hitting all of our lands. What the hell, game? So, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now we can draw a card and Brazen Borrower. So I actually think I'm going to draw now. Just in case we get something main phase worthy. I don't know what that would be, but yeah. Alright, we're catching up slowly. Next turn, actually, we might have lethal unless they block incorrectly. Yeah, I can't do anything about that with Thassa's intervention. Alright, we might have this. They can block out Brineborn Cutthroat. Okay. Wow. Woo! The comeback. Jesus. Alright, and that is version 2 of this deck with some sideboard action. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this. Like I said, I'm not normally a spike player, but this is just weird enough that it's fun. What I love about games is, you know, Magic. What I love about the decks that I enjoy is having a bunch of options available to me. And you might be able to see that with some of the videos that I've posted, some of the lists that I've posted so far. I just like having a lot of options. Like, that's a good way to win the game, you know, whether it's card advantage or whatever, you know, graveyard toolkit, whatever. And this Tempo usually, I mean, you have options. Do I counterspell? Do I not counterspell? I'm thinking like mono blue Tempo, but they're not as deep as this seems to be. You know, like having these adventure cards like Bonecrusher Giant and Brazen Borrower. I mean, just the amount of different ways that you can approach the scenario, obviously, is really powerful for Tempo, but is just fun to play. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. I think this list is probably getting to a point where it's like, okay, this is how this version of Tempo is at works. You know, maybe Lightning Stormkin is in there. I'm not quite sure yet, but we're going to see how the meta settles. We're going to see if other people end up playing decks similar to this. My guess is yes. But thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next deck.